Dating for grub, widespread phenomenon or overblown dating myth? I've always had my own opinions about this trope that women are dating for meals. Not that I assume that it never ever happens, because I'm sure it does sometimes, but I've never been able to be convinced that it comes up even remotely as often as I see it posted online. So I decided to ask a source, the Ask Women Over 30 group on Reddit. The question was posted: have you ever gone on a date exclusively for the meal? Do you know anybody who has? We had 196 comments in the first hour. Last I checked, we had leveled off just under 640 comments. So the short answer is yes. As I said earlier, that I thought some women in some very specific situations do date for meals. Stick around until the end and we'll talk about the categories that those individuals fell into based on our question on Reddit. In the meantime, the reasons that women are actively not dating for grub are much more informative in debunking this dating trope that comes with mythological proportions. So let's break down the reasons that overwhelmingly say if she showed up for you. This first one is the most important: personal safety. If she showed up, it wasn't for the food. She had to already decide that you probably passed the minimum threshold for her safety. So congratulations. She met you despite the risk. The next reason women are not dating for grub is avoiding transactional situations. Women are not out here trying to trade our bodies for breadsticks. Many women have experienced dates where men felt like buying dinner granted them access to the woman's body. Women are trying to avoid this whole guilt trip situation by only going on dates with men they're interested in. If she showed up, it's because she was hoping you were worth it. Women are not dating for grub because it's really just not worth it. Hair, makeup, outfit, commute. This is not a happy pregame for some chicken parm. There's nothing free about sitting across a table from a stranger who will potentially objectify, interrupt, or make weird comments about your mouth. Bad dates are draining emotionally, mentally, spiritually. A free meal comes nowhere near to covering that cost for a woman. If she showed, it's not because she's hungry. It's because she thought you might be a better option than chilling alone with Netflix and nachos. Women are not dating for grub because who even does dinner for a first meeting? Most women are not excited about a potential tasting menu of regrets. We value the ability to dip out of a bad situation. It is an embedded part of many women's dating strategy, including my own. Committing to a full meal with a stranger is a gamble that women are increasingly unwilling to take. If she showed up, you've already passed a very real vibe check. Again, congrats. You're not the risk she's guarding against. Women are not dating for grub because it's 2025. My dudes, the year is not 1996. She's not getting dressed up for fettuccine and forced small talk. Women take pride in providing for themselves. She can buy, make, or order whatever she wants and then eat it in a robe watching her favorite show. If she showed up, it was for something she can't provide for herself, and that's your energy. Women are not dating for grub, but sometimes the meal is the only positive takeaway from a first date. Does it turn into a joke later? For sure it does, but the meal wasn't the goal, not even close. She showed up to see LeBron, but it was Haslam doing all the hustle. If she showed up, it wasn't for the side of fries. It was hoping you would be the main course. Honorable mention. Women would much rather go to dinner with their friends or family than fake it with a guy that she's not really into. If she's struggling, women will reach out to their established support system long before they would consider reaching out to a man they don't know who's coming to the party with his own expectations. Her aunt has the best stories, her best friend brings dessert, and no one is showing up several inches shorter than advertised. If you still believe that women are out here en masse scheming for spaghetti, you're misguided at best, delusional in the middle, and intentionally obtuse at worst. For the women who said that they have known a dater for grub in the wild, what did we learn about their habits and habitats? In over 630 comments, fewer than 10 said that they had had personal interaction with this mythological creature. I suppose we can think of it like dating Bigfoot. How many of us have ever known someone that actually saw it? But lots of us still believe it exists. Really, this is good news, because if this many women say we would never do this, and we've never known anybody who would do this, it means your option, your dating pool that avoids daters for grub, is actually really big. There's an entire ecosystem of women out here who do not engage in this behavior. And almost every response we got where someone said, I knew someone that did this, included either judgment, shade thrown, that person no longer being in the poster's life, and or acknowledgement that the person didn't have great character. So not only is there a large group of women who don't do it, who only know other women who don't do it, women are also holding each other accountable for this behavior. And they're recognizing character flaws in those women. And still, it's a massive minority in terms of the feedback we got from the post. So now I pose a challenge. Guys, ask the women that you know whether or not they would go on a date for a meal, and ask them why. Your moms, your sisters, your cousins, your classmates, your girlfriends. Ask the question. Because if you're willing to believe something you saw online that one time, because online is real life, you should at least be willing to ask a real life woman that you know. Just a thought. So, daters for grub show up in a few very specific categories according to our question on Ask Women Over 30. The first category is very young women, 18, 19-year-olds. Sometimes youth meets hunger, and it's kind of a risky mix. The next group is older guys flexing money to snag younger women. Money can't buy respect, but some of these guys are trying anyways. Next was broke college girls, because when a meal is sometimes the only meal, survival takes priority. Homelessness. Struggling to survive means choices no one should ever have to make. Mental health struggles. When life's heavy, dating decisions can get complicated. And extreme self-involvement. Of the responses we got, only one fit into this category. And it's because occasionally it really is just all about them and nothing else.